Okay, so now we're going to look at dividing fractions. So it's the same rule for multiplying, for dividing when it deals with the sign. And again, here all these examples deals with positive numbers. So when you have two numbers that have the same sign, you'll end up having a positive answer, and if the two signs are opposite, you'll have a negative answer. So how many quarters is there in one? Well, the answer is 4. It takes 4 quarters to make a dollar. How many thirds is there in 1? The answer is 3. How many fifths is there in 1? Is 5. How many tenths in 1 is 10. And how many sixes in 1? That's 6. So you should be able to know how to divide a unit fraction and an integer. 1. Let's take a look at the same thing, but instead of 1, different integer. So how many thirds in 2? We know there's 3 thirds in 1, so then double that, 6. We know there's 5 fifths in 1, so triple that, 15. We know there's 10 tenths in 1, quadruple that, it's 40. We know there's 6 sixes in 1, so 5 times as many would be 30. And we know there's 4 quarters in 1, so 4 times 6, 20 more. Let's take a look at dividing by non-unit fractions. So how many 2/3 is there in 2? So the answer is 3, but if you don't see it, I recommend you using a number line and actually show how many 2/3 there would be in 2. So you have 0, 1, and 2. And we need thirds, so how many 2/3 are there? There's 1 2/3 here, there's another there, and 3. So you can see that there are 3 2/3. Okay, moving on. How many 2/5 is there in 4? The answer would be 10. And again, if you don't, you can use a number line to visually show that. How many halves is there in 3? Would be 6. How many 2/5 is there in 2? That would be 5. And how many 5/6 is there in 5? That would be 6. Moving on. Here we go, dividing fractions which have a similar denominator. So how many 3/3 is there in 9/3? There's 3 of them. How many sixes is there in 12 sixes? There's 12 of them. How many quarters in 3/4? 3. How many fifths, 2/5 in 4/5? There's 2 of them. And how many 11/10 in 11/10? There's 1. Again, if you can show this on a number line. Here, dividing similar fractions. So here you'll have to use your equivalencies that we saw in adding and subtracting. So how many tenths in 8/10? So there's 8. How many sixes in 4/6? There's 4. How many quarters in 2/4? There's 2 of them. How many eighths in 4/8? There's 4 of them. How many fifths in 4/5? Would be 4. So using equivalent fractions, okay? Now here, it's a bunch of different questions, and I'll work my way. Last time I did vertically, so I'll go left to right. So I'll knock them out. So how many halves in 1 and 1/2? There's 3 of them. How many halves in 1? It's the same question. 3 of them. Oh, this one's nice. How many tenths in 2 and 1/2? So there's 20, and then there's another 5, so 25. Tough. That's a tough question. How many halves in? Oh, I like this one. How many halves in 2? There's 4 of them. And then how many halves in a quarter? There's only half of a half in a quarter. So then that would give me 4 and a half as my answer. How many thirds here? You have 3 and 1 and then 2 more, so it's 5 thirds. Oh, it's not 5 thirds. Your answer would be 5. So how many thirds? There would be 5. Here, how many 2 thirds in 1 and 1/3? There's 2 of them. How many halves in 3? There's 6, and then there's another half, so 7 is your answer. How many halves here? There's 2 and 1, and then there's another and a half, so this your answer would be 3.5. How many quarters here? There's 4 here, and there's another one, so your answer would be 5. That's a 5, not an S. How many 2/5 in 1 and a fifth? The answer would be 3. How many halves here? That's a half, so there's 2 halves in 1 and another half, so your answer would be 3. How many quarters here? You have 8 quarters in 2, and then you have 2 more quarters and a half. So 8 plus 2 is 10. Here you have 5/5 in 1 and another 2/5, so your answer would be 7. How many 3/4 in 1.5? There's 2 of them. You can show that on a number line. How many fifths in 2? We know there's 10 and there's 3 more, so the answer would be 13. And then here, how many halves? This is a half, and 1 and 1/2 is 3. So that's all that we have for division, and that completes all 4 operations with fractions. Thank you.